First of all, I want to thank all of you, members of the press who have come to be with us and join the Kenyans in passing the message of the bishops who have come from all the dioceses of Kenya. And every year, a moment like this in November, we are plenary. We started on Monday, we are ending today, and we thank God for what is going on. And so we sat and did many things. So our main title for today's press release is as walking together in hope. Do not be afraid, do not lose hope. I am the Lord your God. I'll be with you wherever you go, Kenyans. So, dear Kenyans, excuse me, and the people of goodwill, we, the Catholic bishops of Kenya, gathered in St. Mary's Center, Nakuru, send you our most sincere message of solidarity and hope as we share with you our thoughts on the state of the nation. Of course, we are aware yesterday the President did give the state of the nation, but we as Catholic bishops have just concluded a synod meeting in Rome, and some of us convened by the Pope Francis. It was a meeting of representatives of Catholic bishops from all over the world, and as well as over other religious and lay delegations. The theme of the synod was on synodality, focused on participation, communion, and mission, that we all derive from God the Father. The synod was an expression of great communion in many diverse cultures and traditions. This gives us a great hope that even here in Kenya, we can all find ways of working and walking together and living together as a nation within our diversities, even with our political and ethnic and social differences, as we forge our common destiny. We now wish to share with you some of our reflections on the current state of our nation. We Kenyans are ordinarily optimistic about the diverse situations we may face all the time. This resilience is evident in times of hardships, in families, and even in society. Nevertheless, this resilience has been greatly tested in the current period, leading to many to despair, a sense of hopelessness as they try to make ends meet. Our country is facing perhaps the most acute economic strain, coupled with unemployment, drastic climatic changes, and uncertainties in the direction of decision within our governance. Some of the emerging issues in our country are, number one, the high cost of living. Whenever and whatever affects a Kenyan, no matter where his social or status is concerned, for all Kenyans, we are reiterating many times our great concern about the rising cost of living. We continue to witness the rise of cost of fuel, the cost of basic commodities, and added demands from the care of the family in school fees and health care. We are particularly concerned that the people who are affected most by this situation are those in lower income bracket, and especially the poor and the miserable. This has created an added suffering to the people already strained by recent COVID-19 pandemic and drought effects. The high cost of living has deeply affected the shaken and social fabric of Kenyan society. It is especially strangling the very poor in their modest needs. Families are under immense stress as they struggle to make ends meet, leading to strained relationships and increased tensions within the households. Parents find it challenging to provide for their children's education, health care, and overall well-being. This situation is perpetuating a cycle of poverty, limiting opportunities for personal and social growth. This economic stagnation further exacerbates the unemployment problem, creating a vicious cycle of financial hardship for the population. We therefore plead for a wider consultation and discussions among the government and the stakeholders to review and study ways we can address and mitigate the effects of high cost of living. We believe the greater commitment and assistance in the agricultural production and better coordinated sale of products, the fair prices for produce like maize, waiver of certain licenses, and zero rating farm inputs can relieve the many Kenyans of this burden.
The second emerging issue, overtaxation of Kenyans. We are aware that part of the cause of this rising cost of living has been due to external factors like the cost of petroleum and the effects of the Ukrainian and Middle East conflicts. However, we believe a more strategic approach based on the interests of the very poor could accommodate decisions that would alleviate this situation. We have appealed to the government on several occasions to reconsider the issue of overtaxation of the Kenyans, and especially to incomes of those in the lower income bracket. This one factor has greatly affected the family income in a disproportionate way, leading to anger among Kenyans. Many traders and businesses are now faced with the option of closure or laying off employees due to the immense drain to their resources and added tax burdens. Further, there seems to be a lack of sensitivity in the way the business persons and individuals are being harassed by the KRA officials in view of collecting more taxes. This has also affected people's morale and sense of hope in a better future. We appeal yet again to the government to find reasonable balance between the desired income for the government and the minimum protection of the basic needs of the very ordinary Kenyan and respect to their dignity. Our true patriotism and true leadership as government, churches, all faiths can only be measured in the care we have for the most vulnerable in the society. Third emerging issue, plight of unemployed Kenyans. Most of our young people are facing the problem of unemployment. This is leading to a bigger number of idle and desperate young persons who had placed great hopes in their education and professional preparation. If not addressed, the frustration will reach alarming proportions with great social risk and dire consequences. We decry the obvious corruption within the public sector, whereby cronyism, tribalism, and discrimination seem to dictate the chance of employment. The avenues of fair employment seem to be dwindling. The vice of bribery and favors for employment has truly discouraged job seekers, especially the young people. We therefore appeal for a more transparent and fair process of employment, especially in public offices. The fourth emerging issue, challenges in the education system. The state of education in Kenya is a cause for concern. One of the critical issues aggravating this situation is the discoordinated and abrupt changes of policies and directives in the entire system, all in specific areas of education. The most recent is the government's change in providing university subsidies, specifically through loans, such as the Higher Education Loans Board, HELB. These changes have created barriers for economically disadvantaged students, hindering their ability to access higher education and jeopardizing the future of an entire generation. Additionally, the reduction or withdrawal of capitation to universities has far-reaching consequences. Parents and guardians are forced to bear a heavier financial burden to ensure their children can access education. Students are forced to stay in deplorable living conditions, prone to delinquency. This situation raises valid questions about the decision-making process within the Ministry of Education, prompting the need for transparency and accountability in their actions. The delay in the release of capitation for secondary schools is also a major concern for school management and parents. Therefore, urgent action is required from higher education stakeholders to collaboratively devise realistic measures that ensure the continued provision of quality education and implementation of policy. It is imperative for the government and relative authorities to engage in open dialogue with all stakeholders, especially religious organizations, educators, parents, and students, to develop sustainable solutions. Notably, in many places, the current grade 7 of the junior secondary school have had very little learning time. The operationalization of the junior secondary school is still very unclear. We appeal to all the students and teachers in this period of exams to observe the highest level of integrity and honesty, avoiding any form of cheating or exam malpractice so frequent in recent years.
Fifth concern, protecting the dignity of every Kenyan. The debate surrounding the proposed digital identification seems to indicate certain ambiguous components which we seek clarification and public engagement before any implementation. From what we gather, it targets an element of violation of the human person through the use of certain new technology. We are therefore raising our concern that a process that involves any assertion or insertion of microchips or other digital elements, especially to newborns, is unacceptable because this would compromise the inviolable dignity of the recipients. We are further worried about the data security of the information collected through digital methods such as the iris identification. We raise our ethical objection to such a project, which would need further discussion and public participation. In the same breath, we condemn all forms of human trafficking involving children, workers, and especially women for economic exploitation. We have also noted the alarming increase of cases of human organ harvesting. Ongoing issues. 1. Bipartisan talks. We applaud all parties concerned for having heeded to the plea of Kenyans, religious leaders, and many other people of goodwill to come together and seek an amicable solution of their differences through dialogue in the ongoing bipartisan talks. This has given our country a lease of life and renewed hope for peaceful coexistence. Moreover, we believe that the spirit of dialogue can bring about greater progress in political, social stability, and common purpose for the good of our nation. These talks stand as a crucial initiative aimed at addressing the deep-rooted grievances among Kenyans, which often lead to divisions, particularly during general elections. Recognizing the significance of these talks, we encourage those charged with the discussions to have the interests of Kenyans at heart. We also invite all Kenyans to support and contribute to this initiative according to their capacity. We believe the substantive discussions arising from these talks can be further expanded to include many stakeholders and religious leaders to ensure acceptance and ownership by citizens. In doing so, Kenya can move forward with a stronger sense of national unity and purpose, ensuring a peaceful and prosperous future. Number 2, security of Kenyans. Security of each and every Kenyan citizen is the primary duty of the government. We have noted with concern the increased incidents of insecurity and loss of lives, which imply a huge lapse in security oversight. Some of the recent conflicts in Sondu area of Kericho-Kisumu border, Lamu, Baringo-Samburu border, and other parts of North Rift seem uncontrolled in spite of presence of security officers. We have also seen the emerging of armed criminal groups. We are appealing to the government security agencies to be more proactive and decisive in dealing with the situations swiftly. The shocking loss of over 400 lives in Shakahola still begs the explanation and the clear accounting of what really happened and how it escaped the security agents. The alleged ritual deaths and possible human organ harvesting has had no response from any responsible agents. This is a major scandal for our nation at this stage of our independence. We therefore ask the government to come clean on alleged cases of human organ harvesting in this country.
The third ongoing issue, the freedom of speech. While we applaud the exercise of the freedom of speech in Kenya, there have been instances where some of our leaders have abused their freedom of speech. They have resorted to using language that demeans and belittles their fellow Kenyans. Such behavior not only erodes trust among communities, but also fuels division and animosity. Respect for the dignity of every person should be at the core of public discourse, fostering an atmosphere where diverse opinions are valued and appreciated. We therefore call for sober and respectful attitudes from our leadership and from all Kenyans. We are indeed disappointed that this culture of hate speech is perpetuated by people who should know better and are expected to be models in society. Section C of our statement. Perennial sticky issues. Corruption. Corruption in our society, both within the systems of leadership and among Kenyans, has been the most devastating sickness we continue to suffer from. Unfortunately, we don't seem resolved enough to truly and comprehensively rid ourselves of this great monster. We as church continue to call upon each Kenyan to commit himself or herself to eradicate this menace. In light of this reality, a collective effort is necessary to combat corruption at its roots. Collaborative endeavors between government institutions, civil society organizations, and concerned individuals are essential to creating a robust framework that discourages corrupt practices, enforces transparency, and ensures accountability in the management of public funds. We, the Catholic bishops, once more call upon all Kenyans to take a strong stance against corruption within their workplace and communities. On our part, we undertake to reactivate the campaign against corruption, starting from the grassroots, highlighting the importance of fostering a culture of integrity, honesty, and accountability at every level of society. Number 2, the National Hospital Insurance Fund. For most Kenyans, the biggest risk and burden is often the cost of healthcare. We acknowledge the efforts of government to provide universal health care to all citizens. This would be a great milestone to improve the welfare of the citizens. At the center of the universal health care is the smooth and efficient operation of NHIF. It is for this reason that we once more raise our concern of the backlog of huge unpaid reimbursements to mission health institutions that support the health provision at the grassroots. By covering medical expenses, including surgeries, treatments, and medications, we can ensure that individuals receive the necessary health care services, improve their health outcomes and quality of life. However, this must also come with a commensurate responsibility to support these institutions, which now are facing unbearable financial strains. For example, among the many faith institutions, the Catholic mission hospitals and health centers are still owed over 1 billion Kenya shillings by NHIF. We are still worried what may happen after the planned reorganization of NHIF. There should be a clear plan to pay these huge sums of money owed to mission hospitals and health facilities.
Another area of ongoing concern and activity, following the clarion call of Pope Francis in his letter on Mother Earth, Laudato Si, we are committed to enhancing our engagement in climate change and care for the environment. We applaud the government for initiatives in this area, and for the recent public holiday set aside for tree planting, we urge our Christians and all people of goodwill and Kenyans to fully engage in this initiative and come out to plant trees within their homes, churches, schools, and villages. We can also engage in other environmental activities, such as cleaning of the environment, preventing soil erosion. We urge the government to enforce laws to reduce pollution on our rivers, which are source of water for the many downstream communities. Care for environment is part of our responsibility as children of God and Christians. We care and preserve our Mother Earth for the generations to come. Let us also take advantage of the ongoing rains to plant and harvest water. In conclusion, we realize the delicate situation we all find ourselves in at the moment. We are encouraged, though, by the words of the scripture that Christ does not abandon us. Christ does not abandon us. This is as quoted from Matthew 28:20. I will be with you always, even at the end of the world. However, we all need to play our part to navigate better these difficult times. Leaders, governments, citizens, young and old, and all religious men and women, we can raise up above all these challenges, continue to build our country. And may God bless Kenya. May God bless all our families, wherever you are watching from or listening from. God loves us. Tumsifu Yesu Kristo.
very much, Archbishop Chair. This statement is signed by all Catholic bishops, whom you will see at least each one of them. We've been meeting since Monday. We will take 3 questions from our media. Please keep them focused on the statement we've made. And 1 question per person, and that will be brief.